Any tips to the new producers and engineers, like do's or don'ts?
Nah, not at all. Do what you feel. Don't do no whack shit.
What's up, squad? Not too long ago, I asked you guys some questions, and we're about to get them answered. So we're going down to Stankonia Studios in Atlanta, so let's go.
Renegade El Rey, Southern Eagle Music Group all day. Myth 10 representing. I'm kicking it with Trap Tendo.
Trap Tendo.
How did you get into mixing?
I mean, well, my whole thing was trying to make sure that the bounce was right, you know. So after the bounce, meaning the final version of the song, when you finish, you render the record. It's called bouncing. So my main thing was making sure the bounce was right. So at the end of making the record, and then somebody give you a mix, and it's not right, then you're like, okay, well, how can we make this bounce right the next time? So I started just pre-mixing as I recorded, and then after a while, I was just like, you know what, well, I might as well just finish the whole record myself.
Did you go to school to engineer?
School.
What?
Nah, I definitely went to school. I went to Full Sail. Full Sail taught me a lot. So, you know, I know a lot of people say, well, that's an expensive school and blase, 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 but I really think it was worth it because I went on campus and I was there. So, with me, my schooling came out of my own pocket. So, unlike the people who just sat in the back of the class and didn't pay attention, I was at the front of the class. And I made sure I did extra labs on top of extra labs on top of extra labs, you feel me? So, I think school was very, very instrumental in my transition into what I started doing. And once I got here to Stankonia, you know, I was under John Frye, and he gave me a couple tips, you know, showed me a couple things, and let me sit in the back of his sessions when he was mixing. So I was always, you know, practicing and working. So, you know, I just took those steps, and I just, you know, skyrocketed with that. I'm still learning to this day.
So what are your favorite studio monitors and why?
Well, I'm probably biased because I don't use several different ones. I personally think once you learn a set of speakers, you might want to stick with those, you know, because it's going to be a drastic difference once you jumping from monitors to monitor brand and monitor brand. So me personally, if I'm talking about your near field monitors, which is just small monitors when you're in a studio, I would prefer my near fields to be NS10s. You get what I'm saying? Yamaha NS10s. They stopped making the actual box. They stopped, you know, so we all know that much. But you can still find them around. You can still find the cones for them, you know. So I personally would prefer that. I could use the newer Yamahas that they make, but I prefer to use NS10s for my near fields. Now, as far as my main monitors, God, please let it be Augsburgers. You know, I just hope that is Augsburgers in the studio because they hit a certain way, and I'm used to my drums hitting a certain way when I EQ them on Augsburgers. Now, other than that, I also use my Sennheiser headphones for references. I have 4 different references when I'm mixing. I use NS10s when I'm doing vocals, sounds, synth sounds, pianos, things of that nature. My drums, I'm mixing them on the Augsburger because I want to see how hard they hit, and then does it transfer from the Augsburgers to the NS10s. If you can make a record hit in the NS10s, then it's thumping. You get what I'm saying? And then I also go and I use my Sennheiser headphones. They beat up, so you can tell that they actually get used. I use my Sennheisers religiously, and I also as of lately, I've been actually using the iPhone earbuds to hear how those sound. Why? Because people listen to music in their earbuds. So I'd be a fool to not mix it for your earbuds. You get what I'm saying? So that's my 4 references, and that's what I use.
How do you know when a record is ready to be mastered?
Sometimes it's never really ready because you always want to do something else to it. But for the most part, when you can listen to it and you can't really find anything that's wrong with it, or you listen to it and it just like you can. A lot of times we look at our screens a lot when we're working. So if you can work, not look at the screen, not look at anything, and you just let the record take you to a certain place, if that record really fulfills that vibe for you, it's ready.
So what is your favorite Waves audio plugin to use when you're mixing?
I mean, I don't have one favorite. I have a group of plugins that I use for different purposes whenever I hear something that sticks out. I would probably say, if I were to name, I guess, a group or a pack, I like the Renaissance pack. So I use the Renaissance compressor a lot of times on groups of vocals. It kind of squashes it just enough, not squashes it enough to make it muffled and dark, but it gives me that nice little sandwich feel and allows me to EQ it. I would say SSL. I use SSL plugins on my drums, the SSL EQs. That is because as you see, we're in front of an SSL, so I love the way the SSL sounds. So using my drums with the SSL plugin, I can make them thump. And I would say, other than that, I like the stock plugins personally. My template, I have all stock EQs and reverbs and delays. You get what I'm saying? So I use that because wherever I go, I know for a fact that's gonna pull up. And I learned when I ain't have nothing. So I learned mixing with the regular stock plugin. So hey, shout out to Waves.
What differences have you noticed between like the music that was mixed in like the early 2000s to late 2017 to?
Well, I mean, one obvious difference is just that everything is loud. That's just straight up. But in terms of like when you get to the intricate details in mixing, it's always a change in how people use reverb, how people use snares. Like in the 80s or early 90s, you had records that was heavy reverb, like your SWV records, and all of that was heavy reverb, and the snare was pow, pow, you know what I'm saying? So and now once it started coming over to the 90s, where hip hop was emerging and really getting its just due, then you had the snare that was just nice and crack. You know what I'm saying? So now you got sound design. So that's one thing that's real dope about production, and let alone mixes, is the sound design between it all. A lot of people are taking snares and mixing them with metal clacks and different things to try to make things stand out. So that on top of the fact that it's loud, it catch your attention off top. I set my mixes up. Organization is key, man. If you don't got organization in your mix, you tripping. That's what I've been looking for. Let me get that kick. Me personally, I find out my drums first. Once I find my drums, then I'm good. You hear me?
Yeah.
Crazy.